It's Pakistan's total admission of failure, that it's failed in Balochistan, and it's happened in Pakistan's parliament, where Pakistan's defense minister Khawaja Asif, he's made a stunning admission in the National Assembly. He says Pakistan army does not have the weapons to fight the Baloch Liberation Army, and the Baloch Liberation Army is much better prepared, geared, armed to take on the Pakistan army. And why? Because for the past 3 days, from Quetta down to Gwadar and Pasni, the Baloch freedom fighters have the Pakistan army and security forces running for cover. Recently, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif had also confessed that Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir and they were going, all over the place with a begging bowl, begging for money. But what's happening in Pakistan? Few people understand Balochistan and Pakistan better than Tilak Devasher, former Special Secretary of the Research and Analysis Wing, former member advisory or National Security Advisory Board. Sir, welcome. What's your reading or what's happening in Balochistan, sir? The fact that 3 days Pakistan army is still not in control. There's an entire corps of Pakistan Army, 12 corps that's deployed there. There are 3 divisions, 9 to 10 brigades and independent brigades, plus the levies, plus paramilitary forces. What's happening, sir?
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for having me on your show. You see, first thing we must realize that this Operation Herof 2.0 has been meticulously planned by the Baloch. It must have taken between 4 to 6 months of planning. They targeted 14 cities, 48 locations, including Quetta, where is the headquarters of the Southern Command, the capital, all the district offices, police headquarters, and they really attacked several places in Quetta. So this kind of mobilization, planning, and deployment, that who will fight in which particular place, this has stunned the Pakistan army. And apart from the weaponry, what Khawaja Asif should also have mentioned is that the Baloch are motivated, whereas the Pakistan army is not motivated. Because the Baloch are fighting for their honor, they're fighting for their homeland. The Punjabi army does rather not be there, to fight against the Baloch. That's one. Secondly, why is he acting so surprised? They keep saying that the US has left about $6 billion worth of weapons in Afghanistan to the Taliban.
Yes.
Taliban, in turn, had passed them on to the TTP as their share in the loot or the booty or Malik Ganimat, the war trophy, Malik Ganimat, after the Americans left. And the TTP, in turn, would have passed this on to the Baloch. They have some sort of an agreement that Baloch have allowed them space in Balochistan. In return, the TTP has shared weaponry with them. So why is he acting so surprised?
And so what I want to understand from you...
You see, and also one last thing, Gaurav.
Sir?
An army cannot crib that they don't have weapons. I think one of the Indian generals had said, we will fight with whatever we have. You can't use this as an excuse on the battlefield.
True. I mean, that was General Ved Malik in the Kargil war. You're absolutely right. But I want to understand, sir, the manner in which the Baloch freedom fighters have the Pakistan army on the run. Today is day 3 and day 4 starting in Noshki. Apparently, they're still in control. How is it that an entire corps headquarters is in Quetta? There are close to 50,000 troops in Balochistan, and Pakistan is still unable to take control of various places unless Pakistan army wants to use this as an excuse and benefit from conflict economy, get more funds for itself.
I don't think so anybody is going to give them funds for this, because the Chinese are very upset with Gwadar. I mean, I read something on social media that the Chinese workers who were in Gwadar have all upped and left. Maybe temporary, maybe they'll come back. The US would be very upset that because this is the mineral-rich area where Pakistan was claiming that it has $6 trillion worth of rare earth elements, and the US was very excited about it. So that's one part of it. About holding on to territory, and especially towns like Nushki, You see, I think in this particular operation, the intention was still not to hold ground. But they got the opportunity. They had in Nushki, for example, they took as hostage the deputy commissioner and the assistant
Yes.
commissioner. So they held them hostage, and they must have found that the defenses of the Pakistan army are the weakest here. And Pakistan army says everything is under control, writ of the state has been established. But you're right, it hasn't. And they have not been able to, or what is called sanitization operations. Those sanitization operations are just not successful. They've not been able to reach out and wipe out wherever the Baloch resistance is. And in the meantime, I'm sure the Baloch would also have strengthened in a few pockets where they find that the Pakistan army was weak.
And in this case, so far, Pakistan Army, I was reading a report, sir, that the Baloch freedom fighters have planned it so well that first they attacked these 48 locations in 14 cities and towns. Then they had reserves. When the Pakistani army reserves were coming in and reinforcements were coming in, they were targeted on the highway. So the Pakistanis cannot use the road anymore. They're bringing in helicopter, gunships and men and material through air. Do these Baloch freedom fighters have surface-to-air missiles? Because in case they do, then Balochistan would virtually be cut off.
Gaurav, I'm not aware of that. I don't think so. That yet they have surface-to-air missiles or drones, for that matter. That is something which the TTP would possibly have. But yes, they have the ability to cordon off highways. They've established roadblocks. They've prevented traffic from moving, especially at night. And that is what would have prevented the Pakistan army from coming into a lot of places. But
Sir,
if I
just
can
the
just
last
say,
30 seconds I have on this part of the show, I also want to understand, Pakistan Army is planning to mount an operation in Tira Valley. So an operation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at a time when Balochistan is burning. Can Pakistan afford to fight on so many fronts?
it'll find it very difficult. If next time there is coordination between the TTP and the Baloch and their time in a window of 10 to 12 hours on the same day, can you imagine the mayhem for the Pakistan army? But Gaurav, allow me to use 10 seconds. The biggest thing for me in this operation was the presence of women fighters.
Yes.
You saw those photographs, not
4 of
only
them.
suicide bombers, but actually fighting at the forefront.
Yes.
And second, the way the people greeted the militants. They were hugging them, they were taking selfies, they were welcoming them. So this is the kind of public support that the Baloch militants now have, which is a very dangerous situation for Pakistan.
The Baloch freedom fighters have tremendous support, as we saw in those images. So not only were the Baloch freedom fighters on top of the situation militarily, they were also on top of the situation when it came to information warfare, because real time those images were being put out in social media and public domain for the world to see what's happening. We'll be tracking that story very closely. Unfortunately, I've run out of time on this part of the show, Mr. Devasher, and it will be such a pleasure to have you back for a much longer conversation in the days and weeks ahead on Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and so much more that's happening on India's western borders.
Look
Many
forward to
thanks
that,
for
Gaurav.
joining me. Thank you
Look
very
forward
much,
to
sir.
that. Thank you.